Okay, so as at the end of Sukkot, so we started to add in the line in the Shemona Esrei, the Mashiv Haruach, that he causes the winds to blow, U'morid either Geshem or Gashem, right? The topic is, and brings down the rains, potato, Geshem, Gashem. What is the difference? Okay? And there are, actually our Sidur has Mashiv Haruach, he causes the wind to blow, U'morid Hageshem, and he causes the rain to come down. And then we have parentheses, and it says, some say Gashem as opposed to Geshem. And it's mostly a grammatical issue, but it also extends out in some interesting directions. Okay, so let us begin, right? We started to say, in Shemona, we started to say, Mashiv Haruach U'morid Hageshem. Now this, of course, is coming from the Mishnah, from the Gemara, and from the Shulchan Aruch. However, there are no dots. There's no vowelization in the Gemara or in the Shulchan Aruch. So that's not really going to clarify for us so much. But let's begin. The very first Mishnah is in Tanit, right, which deals with fasting. It deals with also the rains and the proper davening prayers, insertions that we make for rain. So we have it both in Hebrew and English on the very bottom of the first page there. Make it through, David? Good. One for David there? Good. Okay, so the Mishnah, follow wherever you're comfortable following. Me'ei matai mazkirin gevur Geshem, right? That big box at the top of Me'ei matai, right? That's when a tractate begins. The first word is in a big box. When I was teaching at Yeshiva in Israel, and the boys would come, we need to give an entrance exam to see if they are ready for a higher level or lower level shiur. So we give them the first Mishnah, and if they knew how to read the word in the box, then they were ready for a high level shiur. Otherwise, then we had to start them on a lower level shiur. So we start with the word in the box, because I know we're all higher level over here. From when do we mention the strength of the rain, which is what we say, Mashiv Haruach U'morid Hageshem. Releza says we should start on the first day of Sukkot. That is when the rainy season, in effect, it begins. Rabbi Yisroel no, Miyom Tov Ha'achron Shel Chag. He says wait until the last day of Yom Tov, what we call Shmini Atzeret, right? Amar Yeshua said, "Holy Geshem Elasimin Klala B'Chag Lama Hu Maskir." Do we want it to rain on Sukkot? Right? Absolutely not. So if, being that the rain on the holiday on Sukkot is a sign of a klala, of a curse, that Hashem doesn't want our avodah, doesn't want our service, doesn't want our mitzvah of sukkah, because we are exempt from the mitzvah of sukkah when it's raining, so lamahu maskir, why should you mention it? Amar lo Lezer responds, Afani lo marti lish'ol, I didn't say that we should ask for the rain. Later on in the intermediary bracha, where we make our requests, in the bracha of Baruch Aleinu, in the sustenance, parnasah bracha, there we're asking for the rain. V'tein, and give, tal u'matar livracha, give the dew and the rain in a blessed manner. I'm not saying to start asking then, ela lahazkir. All we are doing at that point is mentioning. We're mentioning the different gevurot, the different powers, strengths of Hashem, and this is a strength of Hashem that we should mention at that point. Ela lahazkir, I only said to mention, here we have the actual wording, Mashiv Haruach U'morid again, no dots. So either Geshem or Gashem. He causes the winds to blow and the rains to come down, Ba'om nato, in its proper time. Amar lo v'kein la'olam yehi mazkir. His response is, if you're mentioning it as a manifestation of God's strength, even when we don't necessarily want the rain, then you might as well mention it all year round. Right? Make up your mind. Are we mentioning it when we want it? Wait till the 8th day. If you're mentioning it because it's a manifestation of God's strength, then we're listing all of God's strength. God is Mechayim Eitim. He resuscitates the dead, right? All those things. Right? So then mention it all year round also. Ein shoalin et hageshem, the Mishnah continues. We only ask for the rain, ela samuch legeshamim, close to the time when we want the rain. And therefore in Israel, that's 2 weeks after Sukkot, when all of the travelers have safely, dryly made it back home. And outside of Israel, it's around December time, December 4th, 5th. That's when we start to say it. Rabbi Yehuda says, the Chazan on the last day of Sukkot, Ha'acharon Mazkir, the latter davener will mention our Shmini Atzeret, meaning we started at Musaf, at the additional service that we say on Shmini Atzeret. Harishon, with the person who's davening Shachar with the morning prayers, Eino Mazkir, doesn't mention. And it goes straight through the winter. And then Yom Tov Harishon Shel Pesach, all the way till the first day, Yom Tov of Pesach, where then Harishon, the Baal Shachar, the person davening Shachar, leading the morning prayers, he is Mazkir. Ha'acharon, the last one, Eino Mazkir. So the Mishnah in Tanis tells us that we start to say it, L'halacha we know we start to say it on Shmini Atzeret. Where do we insert it? So that's the next Gemara that we have on the back side of that one page, which is a Mishnah in Brachot. Right? In Tanit, we're discussing that which is added. In Brachot, we're discussing the composition of our tefillot, of the prayers, and therefore the emphasis is, where is it stated? And the Mishnah there says, Mazkirin Gevurad Geshamim, we mention the strength of the rain, where? B'tchiat HaMeitim, in the second blessing of the Amida, that is Tchias HaMeisim. Why do we mention it over there? Why is it inserted into that bracha?
We want something to come out of the ground.
In a way, yes, though. Right? In a way, yes. Right? That was a uniquely lovable Dove way of phrasing it, right? But yes, Dove, right? We say that actually things growing is like Tchias HaMesim, right? You know, in the frozen tundra of Irvine, we don't appreciate it so much. But elsewhere, in the East Coast, right, everything's frozen over, and then things start to grow. And this is the rain cycle that actually causes things to blow and blossom, which is like Tchias HaMesim. So that's why it's mentioned there. And also, halacha, very interestingly, because the way the Mishnah worded this, that we mention it in this bracha, it doesn't specify where to mention it. So, of course, we mentioned it after the first line, Mashiv Haruach U'morid Hageshem. But the person mistakenly omitted it then, and then realized that they omitted it while they're still in that bracha, they don't have to go back to insert it at that earlier point. They can just insert it where they are in the middle of the bracha, as long as we don't interrupt the last clause, that we don't want to interrupt, that final clause leading to the bracha. But any point before then, as the Mishnah says, we mention it in Tchiat HaMeitim, anywhere in there is sufficient. She'elo, the Mishnah continues, are asking for the rain. That is done in Birkat HaShanim, in the blessing about the years. That's the Baruch Aleinu bracha that we say. V'havdalah b'chonein hadat. Havdalah on Saturday night, where we include the Atachon Antanu, which is a Havdalah, an ending Shabbos paragraph, that is included in the bracha of Chonein Hadat, right? Which is the first of the request brachot about God giving us wisdom. Why is it included in that bracha? A couple of reasons we can offer. Why would Havdalah be mentioned in the bracha of Chonein Dat, God granting us wisdom? Yes, Janet?
The discernment and insight to know what to do in the forthcoming week.
I'm sorry?
The insight and discernment to know what our proper course is for the forthcoming week.
Okay, perhaps. Well, what some explain is in order. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, finish what you.
No. Ladies first.
Shabbat is over, and a week is starting, and in a sense, the request for an action begins when the week begins.
Okay. So one explanation that's given, actually, that bracha is the first of the weekday brachot, right? So we're switching from Shabbos mode into weekday mode at that point. That's where we would include it. And some say along the lines of what Janet was saying, in that this is the blessing for wisdom. In order to differentiate, one needs to have wisdom. right? So therefore, it's in the blessing of wisdom that we make it Havdalah, because we are separating, differentiating between Kodesh, holy, and Chol, mundane, etc., etc. And I mentioned this week when we were learning the Halach after davening that we ask for a Bina. Bina means understanding. Bina is spelled Bet, Yud, Nun, Hey, and I believe the Taz says that Bet is Besamim, Yud is Yayin, Nun is Ner, the candle, and Hey is Havdalah. So those are the four brachot that we make in our Havdalah. They are all part of Bina. Good. Rav Kiva says no. He disagrees, and he says Omra bracha refi b'vnei atzma. He says that it's not incorporated into the first of the intermediary brachot. It's its own standalone fourth bracha. He says we add a bracha on for Havdalah Saturday night. Fair enough. And Rabbi Elazar Omer behoda'ah. It's included in the modim. Okay. So here we have the Mishnah in Tanis, which tells us what we include, but again, there's no vowelization, so we're not sure how it should be pronounced. The Mishnah in Brachos tells us where we add it in, but still no vowelization. The next thing is from Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law. There it says, Matchilin lomar bebracha shniya. We begin to say in the second bracha of Shmona Esrei, Mashiv Haruach U'morid Hageshem. Now I blotted out the nekudot that was I didn't want to lead the witnesses in any way, shape, or form, right? Because in the Shulchan Aruch itself,
Gashem?
there's no vowelization.
Oh.
There are no dots in the Shulchan Aruch, right? So here, right, whatever they wrote is really irrelevant. Right? We want to know what is the correct way to say it. So we start to include those words, Mashiv Haruach U'morid Hageshem or Hagashem, B'tfilat Musaf, in Musaf Shel Yom Tov Achron Shel Chag, of the last day of the Chag. The aim post, we don't stop until Tfilat Musaf Shel Yom Tov Rishon Shel Pesach, until Shacharit of Pesach. Okay, so Petata, Geshem, Gashem. Right? What is it all about? What difference does it make? So there are some very interesting grammatic aspects that we have in Hebrew. The land of Israel is referred to as Eretz Yisroel. But you all had bread. You made the bracha hamotzi lechem min ha-aretz. So is it Eretz or is it Aretz? Right? What is the correct pronunciation? Why are we inconsistent with our pronunciation?
Aren't we going general for RS and it's not locked into?
No, it means the same exact, right? The meaning doesn't change, right? In the Torah also, sometimes it will say shekel, sometimes it will say shakel. Right? Kesef, kosef. Right? Whenever there are two segels, sometimes we change the first one to a kametz and it becomes aretz instead of eretz. What is that based on? So, and that's the question over here, of course. Is it Geshem or is it Gashem? Yes?
So they mean exactly the same thing.
They mean exactly the same thing. It's just a Hebrew, and in English we don't really have different ways of pronouncing a word with the same meaning. We have R-E-A-D, read and read, right? But it's different meanings. Here, it doesn't change the meaning. It's truly like potato.
It's more
Okay?
not like an accent, like a Beth versus a Beth.
Correct. And, right. It's not that the New Yorkers said it like this and the South African. Right. It's not. It's a different. Each one with our accent will apply our accent. It's a different pronunciation. So where does this come from? Right. Why do we have this? Where does this come from? So the Gemara in Nedarim, Daf Lamed Zayin, speaks. It takes a pasuk of Nehemiah, and this is talking about when Ezra and Nehemiah had brought us back into Israel for the second Commonwealth after the Babylonian exile, and they were pretty shocked. They were pretty shocked by the ignorance of the people, of how detached the Jews had come from the Torah. And it says they took out and they read Vayikra'u, and they read. Okay, so underline to the Hebrew, and then English have it also. Amar Chanel Marav, my dichtiv, what is it that's written? Quote, Vayikra'u b'sefer Torat Halokim. They read from the Sefer, the book of the Torah, the Torah, the instructions of God, mifurash, right, clearly. The sum seichel, and they placed understanding, or they gave sense. The avinu b'mikra, and they understood the reading. So exactly what was given over, the Gemara breaks it down. When it says, quote, v'yikru b'sefer Torah Elokim, they read the Sefer Torah Elokim, that's simple. Ze mikra, that refers to the regular psukim, scripture. When it says mifurash, right, explained, or the English here says distinctly, that's referring to the Targum, the Aramaic translation that was given to them to help them better understand it. V'sum seichel, and they gave sense. Eila hapsukim, that is where one pasuk ends and the next pasuk begins. Of course, in the Torah, that's not evident, right? There's no vowelization, there are no periods, exactly. The avinu b'mikra, they understood the reading. Zeh pisuk tamim, according to one opinion, that refers to the trup, to the cantillation, the proper tune reading, the trup that goes along. Va'amri la elah misorot. Others say this refers to the misorot. What does that mean? Let's go further. Rabbi Yitzchak, mikra sofrim, the correct textual reading, the itur sofrim, and that which the scribes have handed over. Kriyan v'lo ktivan, there are certain things in the Torah that are read a certain way, though they're not written that way. Uchtivan, or they're written v'lo kriyan, but not read that way. All of these are halacha l'Moshe miSinai. All of these were passed down to us from Moshe on Mount Sinai. Mikra sofrim. What is examples of mikra sofrim? Eretz or aretz is one example. Sometimes we read it as eretz, other times we read it as aretz. And the Mefarshim that I didn't copy, the Mefarshim and the Gemara and Durham explain, when it's in the middle of a sentence, it is read as eretz. When it comes either at a sof pasuk, at the end of a verse, or at an etnachta. Etnachta is that upside down horseshoe, which marks the middle point of a pasuk. So either when it's the full pause at the end of a pasuk, or when it's in the middle of the pasuk at a midpoint, there, grammatically, without changing the meaning, grammatically, it's read as aretz instead of eretz. So now we understand. We refer to the land of Israel, what do we refer to it as? Eretz Yisroel. Or making a blessing, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Why aretz over there? That's the end of the sentence. Okay? Now, what do we call grape juice or wine? Geffen. Right? But Baruch Hashem came achalam borei pri ha gafen. Why? It's the end of a sentence, so we say it as gafen. Svardim, in fact, say borei pri ha gefen. We'll deal with that pretty soon, right? And the Teimanim say jefen, right? They have a difference between the different gimels and all these different letters.
What are Teimanim?
I'm sorry? Yemenites. Yemenites, Jews of Yemenites. Now, so this is telling me when I am dealing with a pasuk in the Torah, the proper way of reading a pasuk in the Torah, a verse in the Torah. is that necessarily, maybe that's just halacha l'Moshe Sinai, as we said, that is this this Moses transmission from Sinai when it comes to Torah reading, right? We also spoke about the trup. There's no trup when I'm making a bracha, right? So maybe this only applies to Torah reading. How do we know that this should apply to us also over here when it comes to our brachot and when it comes to Mashiv Haruach U'morid, either Hageshem or Hagashem?
Rabbi?
Yes.
Why with those particular words, and that was a word like lechem, at the end of a sentence,
It would.
It cannot be lachem at the end of a
It
sentence.
would.
It would?
It would be.
I've
would
never
be.
seen, has it ever happened?
I don't know. Look, we don't have any brachot which conclude with the word lechem,
Yeah.
right? If there is, we have to look at like a concordancia and look through all the psukim of Tanakh and see where lechem is. If lechem is at the end of a pasuk,
It would be lachem?
I would wager it'll be lachem.
That's weird.
Yeah, it'll be lachem. Yeah. Now lachem is with a chaf. That means to you. Lachem, right? It would have the accent on the first syllable. That would mean bread. Yes, that would be another case. Any word that has two segals, right? It will change. How about when it comes to our davening? So the last source we have is from Moshe Feinstein, right? The Igros Moshe, and there he writes. Im lomar morid hageshem. Should we say morid hageshem besegol? So should we say morid hageshem? O bekametz, or is it with morid hagashem? B'davar morid hageshem tzarich lomar bekametz tachat hagimel. He says it should be said with a kametz. It should say morid hagashem. Why? Ki sof inyanhu. He says, what is it? It's the end of a clause. Mashiv Haruach, he causes the wind to blow. U'morid Hageshem, and he brings the rains down. Shetzarech lomar bekametz. That needs to be said with the kametz. Kedi Isa bin Nedarim. The Gemara that we just saw above, as it says in the Talmud in Nedarim, Daf Lamed Zayin, page 37. Dam Rav Yitzchak the Mikra Sofrim. The way that the Sofrim has told us that we should be reading it. Hu alach l'Moshe Sinai, that is passed down from Moshe on Sinai. Uperish achakach to Eretz Aretz, and the example that they give is Eretz Aretz. Uperish Haran, the different commentators on the Gemara, the Ran, the Rosh, the Tosfos, to who shekashiyesh bo et nachta. If there is the et nachta, which is the pause in the middle of a pasuk. Nikra b'kametz, it's read with a kametz. V'hakol ki haygavna af behefsek da'ad nachta, and that's when you have the middle pause in the middle of a pasuk, you change it. Kol shekain behefsek the sof pasuk. Certainly, when you've got the end of a pasuk, that of a verse, that's how you should do it. Ubracha aruchahi. This is a long bracha. The second bracha is a long bracha. B'kama hefsekim yoter gedolim, with many serious pauses along the way. Af kasof pasuk. Rav Moshe says these pauses are like the end of a verse. Kol shekain, and it's certainly like the middle pause in the middle of a verse. And therefore, clearly that's how it needs to be done. Now, Rav Moshe addresses, but maybe that's only when it comes to Torah reading. The kain sarich likro gam bebrachot, and so too this rule will also apply to the different brachot. Lo rak b'kriya de Torah, not specifically limited to the Torah reading. She'eno inin chidush sheshayach lomer shu chidush rak b'Torah. It's not that this is this novel teaching that applies only to Torah. Elo de mikra sofrim hu. This is teaching us the proper dikduk, the proper grammatical way. Shekain tzarech likrot mitzad etzem hakriya. This is the proper way that it should be read. De tevot ke'elu b'sof inyan. Right? That these words are like the end, when they are at the end of of a sentence or of a clause. And that's what he's teaching us. So therefore, when it is the end of a clause, then it needs to be Gashem. Now, a contemporary of Rav Moshe Feinstein, right? When I was my earlier years in yeshiva, so we had the privilege that there were in America, certainly Rav Moshe Feinstein or Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky were known as the Gedolei Yisroel in America, along with Rav Ruderman, right, and the different Rosh Yeshivas of Yeshiva University and of Lakewood. But Rav Moshe and Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky were known as the Gedolim. Rav Moshe was the posek. He was clearly the posek hador. Now, Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, he was of the opinion that it should be Geshem and not Gashem. Why is that? He said, what do we call that entire bracha? We call it gevurot. What do gevurot mean? What's gevurot? Strengths. So what are we doing basically? We're listing all the strengths, all the manifestations, or I shouldn't say all. We're listing different manifestations of God's strength. And therefore, it's a listing. And therefore, this which is towards the beginning of the listing is not an ending point. And therefore, he says it should be Geshem and not Gashem. And they bring very interesting over here a quote, right? According to Rav Mich, I'm sorry. This shir in the Marakomos is from Or Sameach and Rav Yehuda Spitz. Okay, so he brings here from a Rav Michal Shurkin, Mashgiach of Yeshivas Toras Moshe Yerushalayim, that this is one of the times that Rav Yaakov had said, Rav Moshe is a bigger Talmid Chacham than I, but I know Dikduk better. Rav Yaakov's right, he has a sefer Emes Liakov on Ala Torah, on the Torah, and it's mostly Divrei Torah based on the Dikduk. Right, Rav Yaakov Zatzal was known for his incredible expertise in Dikduk.
What is dikduk?
Dikduk is pronunciation, the exact grammar, and that which can be learned from this Dikduk. Now, there are those that say, this is something that Steve had mentioned to me as he was leaving, he needed to run out, that everyone used to say Geshem. And Gashem, some say, once the Maskilim came along, the Maskilim were Jews who were pushing aside all of the spiritual and divine components of our Torah, and they were just very much into the grammar. That was the linguistics, right? But very serious poskim have negated that. Now, the Sfardim I mentioned before, they say Borei Pri Hagefen. If that's the case, then it seems that their tradition is to keep the two segels even at the end, right? And therefore, it should follow that they would also say Mashiv Haruach U'morid Hageshem, but that's not the case. And Rav Avad Yosef Zatzal wrote that the reason they say Bari Pri HaGefen is because according to them, the Bari Pri HaGefen is not really the end of the bracha. The word Gefen is not the end of the bracha. The Amen is the end of the bracha. So the reason they're saying Gefen is not because they say Gefen, not Gofen at the end, but rather because it's not at the end. Right? And what's also very, very interesting, right? So we have Michelle davening with us. Right? And the Svardim, it could sometimes throw off a Bal Tefillah, right? Because they keep calling things out, right? In the middle, right? Many Bal Tefillah say, they get a little nervous, are they correcting me? I'm doing something wrong, right? So they say Mashiv Haruach U'morid Hageshem, but once again, that's not an issue because that's not the end of it, right? When the Chazan says Mashiv Haruach U'morid Hageshem, everyone shouts out, Livracha. It should be for a bracha. It should be for a blessing. So for them, it's not the end of a pasuk. It's not the end of a clause. It's not the end of anything. It's midstream. It's the middle. It's the middle of the sentence.
But when you said the second paskim in opposition to Rav Moshe said it's part of a list. So that totally makes sense because then we say mechakel, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but yes.
But it's also
We can hear both sides.
separated by a comma, and so the argument that it's
We can hear both sides, and that's why I got it. And that's why la halacha and in terms of customs, right? It is really evenly split, right? How are we going to go with it?
consistent with that if it would be in this list of Hashem's qualities, like you were saying before, then we should be saying it year round. In other words,
Yes. So that's why we only mention it. Right? We're mentioning it at the time of the season of it. Right? It makes sense to mention the rain, this manifestation of God's strength at a time when we would like to see that taking place. Now there is a fascinating explanation that he brings in the name of Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld was the Rav of Yerushalayim, right? This is before the establishment of the state. And he says that many people say Geshem, even though grammatically it's not correct, because over here, what are we asking for? We're asking for an overflowing of God's goodness. We want the rains to come. Now, there are two ways to read it. One of them is with a kametz, and one of them is with a sego. Let's look at these words of what they mean, right? Now, when it's just a line, right, what's that called? That's a patach, right? What does patach actually mean? Open. Now you go to the doctor, what does he say? Open and say, ah. That's a patach, right? In order to say a patach, what do? You have to open. Ah, right? Patach. You have to open your mouth. It's a patach. A kametz is you're already clamping down. Fascinating. In Hebrew, you know what we call a stingy person? A miser? A kamtzan. A kamtzan. So a kametz is like to contain, to restrict, right? Now, how about segel, right? Segel, right, is like a segula. It's an outpouring. So therefore, putting the exact dikduk aside, right? Who's to say that dikduk should be the main consideration? He says that perhaps the reason why people have a custom to say Geshem, even though Gashem might be more grammatically correct, is we don't want to have anything to do with kametz, with kamtzan, with hoarding, with restraining, with constraining when we speak about the rain. We don't want it to be Gashem with a kametz, which is constraining it. We want it to be Geshem with a segel, which is this open diffusion, this largesse that comes with the meaning of those words. Okay, so what do? Right? So there is no set rule, and in any given shul, on any given day, right, depending on who goes up there and davens, we might hear Geshem and we might hear Gashem. However, practically speaking, it would make sense as follows. If you're saying Gashem, then you personally should pause after that, right, to make it a proper pause that grammatically it's deserving of a kametz, of a Gashem. If you're going to say Geshem, You should say, Ata Gibor Le'olam Hashem Echayim Eitan Orach Mashiv Haruach U'morid Hageshem Echal Kalchayim Echesem Echayim Eisim. Right? You should not pause, and you should just follow on through. Right? Now, just lastly, one of the take-home lessons that we have from this insertion of Mashiv Haruach U'morid Hageshem, we mentioned before, if one omitted it, it can be inserted at any place in the in that bracha, right? But let's say that bracha passed and you didn't say it. What must you do? You must go back and restart the Amidah. You don't take 3 steps back, 3 steps forward. You don't say Hashem Svatay Tiftach. That's introduction. But you start again. Baruch Atah Hashem, right? And one of the important lessons we see from there is how important every word of davening is, and how important every davener is. This is a plug for me. How important every davener is, right? Because you can't say, well, listen, okay, I didn't say it. Well, this is the rain. I'm not asking I'm asking it to rain on 44 Almond Tree Lane. I'm asking for rains for everywhere, and everyone's davening rains everywhere, right? So all the Jews have davened for it. Right? And I left it out. Okay, I'll get it next time around. No, that's not the case. Every single person, every word of davening, and every single person makes a difference. We need you. Right? And therefore, right, please go back, start again, and make sure that you include that.
So when you start again, since you've done all the way through once, do you still do all the way through again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought you meant maybe just through that.
No. You start again, and you go straight through. Yes, I.
Is that the only instance where you would start the Shemona Esrei all over again?
No, there are quite a few.
If you said it repeated?
Yeah. That. Once we start to say V'tein Talamata Livracha, right, in the Bracha Baruch Aleinu, December 5th, if one omitted that, we need to start the Shemona Esrei again, right? Well, wait, I'm sorry, let me clarify. That and Hakel HaKadosh instead of HaMelech HaKadosh that we say during the days of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. There, if you make a mistake, since it's the first 3 are considered a trio, the first 3 brachot are considered a one unit. So a mistake in the first 3 requires you to restart. Okay? A mistake later on, if you left out V'tein Talmat Livracha, or you left out Yalav Yavo, let's say. So there you just go back to that bracha and then continue straight through. But here, the first 3 brachot are considered a trio, so therefore it's a unit of 3. So if you made a mistake that requires you to go back, you can't go back to the middle of that. You need to go back to the beginning of that trio, which is the Shemona Esrei.
You can't go back to the middle. That's right.
Yeah. Okay, my friends. Yes, Dov.
Why we don't add it into benching? Because food is growing from there.
The only thing, we don't add requests. That's an interesting question, Dov. We don't add requests into benching.
Where are we now?
We add mentions of the day, the Shabbos, Yalav Yavo, right? But benching is not really a time of requests. It's more a time of thanks, right? So that's probably the answer, right? That it's not a medium, right? It's not a medium that is set for requests, right? It's a medium that is set for Hodah, for thanks. Yes, Janet, I'm going to call it.
So, given the situation of California, and like that time when Rabbi Akiva did that special session where he came up with a Vino Akenu.
So a person, you're asking...
There's regional variation.
I got it.
Like RCCB saying,
I got it.
California,
Janet, I got it. Janet,
year round?
I got it. Right. So we have our set davening, right, that we don't tinker with. But a person should add their personal requests. So if you're living in a drought-driven area, so we're not going to change the form of the davening, but we will encourage people, when you make your own personal requests, right, to make that also as a request.
In the blessing of the years, like you said, since it says December 5th, should we instead for California?
No, like I said, right, we keep the protocol, but we personalize according to the individual needs. Okay, we'll call it over here, my friends.
It's December 4th this year that we changed.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you, Dave.
okay.
Yes, Dave, good, thank you.
In Cal.